Hello everyone, Rob Guest from football.london here, and welcome to the latest episode of Gold Guest Talk Tottenham, sponsored by NordVPN. Joining me today, it's Lee Wilmot. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you, mate. Bit bunged up. I've got a bit of the lurgy that appears to be going around. But I've got some tissue on my desk and I've got water on my desk, so hopefully I won't run into any troubles while we're doing the pod. I should just point out, I'm only doing this because it's Ali's day off. He's not off on holiday again. He's just on a day off today, and we felt like we should get a podcast in because, yes, press conference day tomorrow and match day on Wednesday. So there wasn't another chance to do it when Ali was around. So here I am. Apologies that I'm not Alistair Gold.
Yeah, busy week for Spurs. 2 press conferences, games. So we will both be in on Thursday to do a second podcast this week when we're going to look back on the Liverpool game in the Carabao Cup semi-final. But today we're going to be reflecting on Tottenham's 2-1 defeat against Newcastle, but also talking about a brand new signing, Tottenham confirming the arrival of Antonin Kinsky on Sunday morning from Slavia Prague in a 12.5 million deal. The goalkeeper, very highly rated in the Czech Republic, 21-year-old. Just seems like the ideal goalkeeper that Spurs have been looking for in terms of someone who can come in and push Guillermo Vicario for his number 1 shirt in the long term.
Yeah, a young goalkeeper. A young goalkeeper who can play with his feet as well, which is what Ange and a lot of Premier League managers want these days. And yeah, it strikes me as it was kind of desperate to sign a goalkeeper, wasn't it? Given Vicario's injury and Forster's illness and a couple of shaky moments, and he's not getting younger either, is he, Fraser Forster? So yeah, we needed a goalkeeper. We weren't sure if Ange was going to actually take the plunge in the January transfer window or would wait till summer, and he's taken the plunge now. So you look at it in some respects and think, this is kind of desperate sign. Don't know who he is. No one's really heard of him. Looks like a bit of, as I say, desperation to get someone through the door. But when you kind of look further into it, he is a 21-year-old goalkeeper who's one for the here and now and the future. And all the noises that seem to be coming out are that they want him to challenge Vicario and not just sit there and be a number 2.
Yeah, I mean, Vicario's not going to be back until the end of February. Ange said that in his pre-match press conference on Friday. So if Kinsky is going to come straight into the team at some point, once Spurs do get that work permit for him, then he's going to get a decent run of games. Cannot play in the 2 Europa League fixtures this month against Hoffenheim and Elfsborg, as you can only make changes to your 25-man squad once the league phase has come to a conclusion. You can make 3 changes, but you've got to make sure that you don't go above the 25-man list. So there's definitely going to be opportunities. I think maybe the Liverpool game might come too soon for him. So
I was going to ask you, what do we know about how long work permits will take? When do we think that'll be all sorted?
Who knows? They're usually a couple of days, something like that. But I mean, if you're looking at the Liverpool game, he's going to hardly have any training time. Yeah. And then Fraser Forster might be available again after missing out for a illness at the weekend. Brandon Austin was fantastic in goal on his senior debut for the club. Brandon turns 26 this week, so you're thinking surely he keeps his place in the team. Certainly doesn't deserve to lose it after a really good showing against Newcastle. So maybe Kinsky's debut comes against Tamworth. What an introduction to English football that's going to be, especially with it's Tommy Tonks with a long throw into the box. That could really be a bit of a baptism of fire. But
proper welcome to England, that'll be, wouldn't it?
Oh, very much so. But as I was saying, really highly regarded in the Czech Republic. Had a look at what his former goalkeeper coach at Vyškov used to said about him. Said Kinsky's got a really good head, great self-confidence, sometimes chooses to do riskier solutions. Then there's been comparisons with Petr Cech, what's probably understandable given he hails from the country, really highly rated. And he said one of the issues Kinsky has is exactly what Cech had at Chelsea. sometimes you can go 40 minutes or so with having nothing to do, and then all of a sudden you're called into this difficult situation to resolve it. He's had to do likewise at Slavia Prague, but what he did say, he wants to see him under pressure a bit more in games, see how he does, because Slavia have been flying in the Czech League this season. Kinsky kept 12 clean sheets from 19 games. They've only conceded 7. So that probably shows maybe in some games doesn't have so much to do. And he did point out one of the issues is sometimes in those quiet spells is someone who wants to get on the ball and, play football. And when he does go through these spells where he has nothing to do, sometimes the next time he's on it, he has a tendency, to want to be seen and try and invent unnecessarily complicated things. So that could be interesting. Maybe seeing him doing Cruyff turns on his own goal line. I don't know, but he seems a really highly rated keeper, good with both his feet. Played in the Europa League this season, Champions League qualifying. So for a 21-year-old, he's already got bags of experience, and he just seems like the perfect keeper really for Spurs when you're looking at planning ahead for the future.
That quote there you said from the was it former coach at one of his former riskier solutions? That's probably music to Ange Postecoglou's ears, isn't it? Loves his defenders to play risky football and get Spurs on the front foot from the back. So perfect signing. I don't think interesting is the word Spurs fans will use if he tries doing Cruyff turns on the edge of his box though.
No. And to be honest, I don't think he'll have these quiet spells in games going on. Tottenham
absolutely not playing for Tottenham. No,
I mean they conceded 2 minutes after scoring on Saturday, so he will be busy. But he seems a really good keeper, one for the future. And I was actually looking at Slavia Prague's website earlier. They had an interview with Kinsky, basically like a goodbye interview, and he said the move actually happened really quick. Friday morning, there was no talk of it whatsoever. Then he went with his friends to the sauna, had a massage, and then picked up his phone after, missed call, basically telling him the move's happening. So he's had to rush around, go get some gloves and boots, I think, from the stadium. Had to go back to get them, flew out first thing Saturday morning. 24 hours later, move confirmed. So I think something that he's been looking to do at some point in the future, and he's come around really quickly for him. He did mention as well that he maybe could have departed in the summer, but he's kind of glad now he stuck around for the 6 months because Slavia have been flying. He's got all this experience of playing now in European football, domestic football. And if that didn't happen, maybe this move to Tottenham wouldn't have come to fruition for him.
Yeah. Does that transfer out of nowhere, does that remind you of anyone and the way Spurs do business of late?
Yes. Wilson Odegaard, that one came out of nowhere. And a few more would be ideal in this January transfer window. I think now we've probably got to be looking at centre-back, left-back, attacking options. But at least Tottenham have got the ball rolling now. Fingers crossed.
From now, I was just going to say, I think from now, it's kind of there's a little bit. There's 2 weeks now. There's a little bit of time, isn't there? Because no one's going to come in now and expect to play against Liverpool on Wednesday. Tamworth on Saturday. Saturday or Sunday this week?
Sunday lunchtime.
Yeah. Yes, we're injury stricken and we're illness stricken, but you'd like to think that players that we've got at our disposal can do the business against Tamworth, but you never know in the FA Cup, I suppose. So there's 2 weeks now, isn't there, where you can kind of think about what you're going to do in the transfer market. We don't want to leave it till the very last minute, but we have now got a couple of weeks where we can think about who the next signing is and how they fit in.
Yeah, I mean, there's the North London derby coming up. That's a midweek fixture, just over a week's time ahead of the trip to Everton.
Do you want to throw a new signing straight into that game, though? He's done it with it was Brennan Johnson, wasn't he? He did it with Brennan Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, he's done it before. You'll just have to look at the situation Spurs are in at present. But I mean, in terms of Kinsky, penny for Brandon Austin's thoughts right now, coming in for his full debut, coping really well. He's turning 26 this week. He's never had the chance to step up and take on the gloves because, I mean, he's always had like Vicario, Lloris, who else will have been ahead of him at the time? Gazzaniga, Galini, Fraser Forster as well at the moment. Had to be very patient for that opportunity, but on Saturday, I thought he was one of Tottenham's standout players.
He did a great job, didn't he? They put him under a load of pressure from corners at the very beginning. I think he stood up to them well. Came and claimed 2 or 3 of them, I think. And yeah, he looked, watching on telly, he looked a bundle of nerves beforehand. It didn't look like he was comfortable in the kind of the pre-match huddle. The camera's obviously focused in on him because it's his debut, and yeah, Spurs are having issues. But yeah, I thought he was great, and I'd like to see him play against Liverpool on Wednesday. No matter if Fraser Forster's back from illness or not, I'd like him to play.
Yeah, I think he deserves to keep his place in the team. Certainly done nothing wrong. I think what I liked about his performance was, as you mentioned, he was under pressure on those corners. I mean, you're coming up against Dan Burn, Joe Linton, tall, powerful players in the 6-yard box, but came out a number of times just collecting the balls. And also as well, Spurs we've seen previously, or a lot of this season, going short with the goal kicks. There were quite a few just went long to Solanke.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't mind that. I prefer that rather than playing out from your own box, because, I mean, that's where Newcastle's first goal of the game came, and Austin having his chance because Fraser Forster was ill. In terms of the team, Saturday morning, there was all these question marks about who exactly is going to play in this Spurs team, because there's rumours about so many players being ill. Radu Dragusin and Archie Gray, 2 of those who were ill ahead of the week, and these are your 2 centre-backs at the moment. Everyone else is out. So you just think, who on earth is going to play in the heart of defence? But both of them, credit to them, got on the pitch. Dragusin only managed 45 minutes. Gray, really, really good showing once again from him. Played the full match. But it was still a strong team. Spurs put out. Kulusevski taking on the captain's armband. They had Maddison, Son and Basuma on the bench. I think that was tactical, given what Ange was saying after the game. But Spurs made a really fast start and went ahead through Dominic Solanke. Brilliant goal.
What a ball from Pedro Porro, and the movement from Solanke as well to excuse me, sorry, to move his defender one way and then go the other one and get the diving header in was excellent. Yeah, really strong start. Really strong start. I was with my kids on Friday night. We'd heard the news about the illness running through the camp, and we'd heard murmurs of which players it was. We obviously couldn't report on it because we didn't know for certain which players it was, but we had heard that it was Forster and Gray and Dragusin. It turned out that was the case, but Gray and Dragusin made it. And I was having conversations with my sons on Friday night thinking, I've no idea he's playing in defence tomorrow. I know it. We've got our main 2 centre-backs out, the third or fourth choice in Ben Davies out injured, and now the 2 that are filling in are also ill. You're sitting there wondering who's going to play and what sort of score it's going to be that Newcastle are going to rack up against Spurs. They managed to make it, as you say. Dragusin 45 minutes. I feared the worst again in the second half when you're seeing Sergio Reguilon, who's barely played, coming on at left back, and Jed Spence, who has not played that much himself, to be fair to him, then moving across into centre back alongside Archie Gray, who doesn't normally play there but has been forced to in the last few weeks, and then Pedro Porro, the senior citizen of the back line. It was just crazy, really, wasn't it? But the second half in particular, so proud of that back line. I thought they were outstanding. Newcastle didn't offer as much, and I think we kept the ball really well in the second half in that midfield. You can make arguments that we didn't do enough with it going forward, and that's why we didn't win the game or get anything from the game. But protected the defence really well in that second half, I thought. And yeah, huge credit, I think, for all 5 of them. Sorry, if you take Brandon Austin as well.
Yeah, they were fantastic. And I think probably Spurs fans were going into the game fearing the worst, given talk about the illness bug. Newcastle coming into the game, winning the last 4 Premier League games, scoring 13 goals, not conceding any. Probably should have scored a lot more than 2 a few days earlier at Manchester United, because they completely dominated them in the first half. Should have been 3 or 4-0 up. But no, full credit to Spurs going ahead. Really, really well worked goal. Pedro Porro's cross were fantastic. He put a number of excellent balls in across the game, and that was quite rightly picked up on, I think, TNT Sports in the commentary. Spurs probably should have done better with a few of those deliveries that Porro put in. But Lucas Bergvall handed the start. He had a key role in the goal as well. Really good driving run forward. And Solanke put the ball in the box, give him a chance of goals. Good chance he's going to take it. Fantastic header. I think the only disappointing thing is 2 minutes later, it's 1-1.
The disappointing thing that we've said a number of times this season and last season as well, that Spurs started well and don't kick on from it. Don't really kill a game off, or don't go and take the game to the opposition, because I think once Newcastle equalised, and there was plenty of debate about the equaliser, of course, which we'll talk about in a minute, but after that, I thought Newcastle dominated the rest of the first half, and we didn't really have a kick in the first half. And it's just so frustrating when you start so well like that and get yourselves 1-0 in front and then concede a goal straight away, and then pretty abject for the rest of the first half. Second half I thought was excellent, but first half, after Newcastle equalised, I thought we were so poor.
Yeah. I mean, that just gives Newcastle a leg up, letting them equalise so early on. And I mean, it was a contentious decision. I think a lot of fans very angry with it. Ange as well, really angry in his post-match press conference. So for you, handball by Joe Linton or not?
I'm gonna upset a lot of Spurs fans here, I think, by saying I don't think it was a handball. I don't see how in the rules and the laws, and you can talk about other things and common sense and things like this, but I think under the law, his arms are down by his side. It's hit him. He's not made a movement to handle it himself. It's just hit him, and then Newcastle have gone on and scored from there. It's Joe Linton didn't score. It's gone through another pass, another kind of phase of play, if you will, after that's happened. So yeah, for me, I didn't get it. It was kind of one of those like, yes, it's hit him on the arm. It's not a free kick. It's not a handball. Move on. But I'm a Spurs fan. I'm frustrated by it because within 10 seconds, Newcastle have scored. So it had a massive impact on the game. The ball hitting his hand had a massive impact on the game, because 10 seconds later, rather than Spurs having possession of the ball, Newcastle have got it and Newcastle have scored. So I get that. I get that frustration. It hurts, but by the letter of the law, for me, it's not a handball, and you move on from it. It's a poor pass from Pat Matasar to Lucas Bergvall in the first place that he's kind of struggled to get under control and then flick away. If Sarr had played the right ball, we wouldn't even be having this conversation, would we?
No, I agree with you. I mean, it quite clearly hits his hand. That's clear for everyone to see. But his hand's down by his side. It's accidental, going on the letter of the law. If Joe Linton went and scored from it, got the ball and ran through and scored, it doesn't count. But because I think it was Bruno, then passed it through to Anthony Gordon, who took it well. Really good finish from him. Austin really couldn't do anything about that. But for me, Joe Linton's hand's in a natural position. And to be honest, I'm sure if roles were reversed and it was Joe Linton playing the ball and it hit Bergvall's hand, I think Tottenham fans would say, oh, it was accidental. So It's one of those, you can't really have it both ways. 100% I can see the frustration, but the frustration for me in that would be, it comes 10 seconds after Austin's taking a short goal kick. And I hate these, short goal kicks, playing it out in and around your own box. Just that it's too dangerous. And 10 seconds after he's passed it, Newcastle, come away and score from it. And yeah, I agree with what a lot are saying as well. The ball does move direction, because if Bergvall gets it through, I think it releases Porro, who's then out of position when Joe Linton gets it and that. But big talking point in the game. But for me, I think probably the right call.
The interesting thing for me is that I noticed it and I was not happy about it on Saturday either. And they've kind of brought it up on Sky Sports on the Ref Watch this morning. I was keeping an eye on that. Was the handball later in the half from Dan Burn. Now, I don't want players to be sent off, and I don't want this, that, and the other. But Dan Burn in the middle of the park has stopped a counter attack from Spurs with his arm, you can argue where it's hit him on the arm, and he's kind of be fair to him, I think he is trying to move his arm out of the way when it hits him. I don't think he's moved his arm towards it, but it has hit him on the arm. He's stopped a counter-attack, and the referee has given a free kick for the handball, even though it's accidental. So that's where the argument is. Well, one's accidental, but he's given a free kick for it in the middle of the park, stopping a counter-attack, and one's accidental at the other end, and he's not given it. And it's led to a goal. So, and yeah, you could argue that Dan Burn should have seen a second yellow for that handball as well. Again, I don't think he should have done, because I think it was accidental and he's trying to move his arm out of the way. But he was on a yellow card, and normally you see handballs penalised with a yellow card, don't you?
Oh yeah, very much so. Do you think if he hadn't originally got his first yellow card, he would have been carded for that?
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Again, another talking point in the game. I think there's quite a number of contentious calls. Joe Linton again caught Bergvall with his elbow in the first half. Looking at that, I don't know if it's one of those where Joe Linton tried to get his arm past Bergvall to try and get some space to move forward. I don't know. I mean, he does catch him. I don't think it's probably worthy of a red card. If he's going to be carded, it's a yellow. Then maybe accidental.
It's an interesting one. One, because he's an aggressive player, Joe Linton, isn't he? And yeah, I don't notice it first of all, but when you see the replays, he's got his arm up. It's not an elbow. It's a forearm. I suppose because it's in the back of the head rather than him doing it lashing out or something. I might
Do you think
agree
he's trying to go past him?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe just trying to kind of get himself between Bergvall and the ball. I don't know, but only he knows, doesn't he, what he's done there, if he meant it or not. Yeah, I'm a bit more on the fence with that one. I could be a proper Spurs fan and be up in arms that he wasn't sent off for that. I could be more up in arms about that, I think, than the handball.
Yeah, but there were a number of fouls committed by Joe Linton. And
absolutely, yeah.
Second half where he eventually did get a yellow card, and I don't think he was very happy about it, looking at his reaction. But yeah, I think that yellow card was only a matter of time. Another talking point second half, Anthony Gordon going down in the box, caught by Dane Kulusevski. Penalty for you or not? I mean, a number of Arsenal fans have actually brought this up over the past 24 hours or so because of the João Pedro incident. So for you, penalty or not?
No. It's. I think that goes back to when Son was sent off against Everton for me for the foul on Gomez that broke Gomez's leg, which wasn't a foul, but because it's broken Gomez's leg, the referees looked at it and go, that's a definite red. When it clearly wasn't. If you look back at the replays, it clearly wasn't a red card incident. Just because he might have broken Anthony Gordon's nose and there's blood coming out of his nose, it's not a penalty for me. It's just Kulusevski's not done anything. He's kind of gone to win the ball. Anthony Gordon's done him by cutting back. And what's Kulusevski supposed to do? Is he supposed to kind of move his shoulder out of the way to give Gordon a bit more space? He's running and has tried to come to a quick stop because Anthony Gordon's cut back, and it's just a coming together. I don't see it as a penalty.
I agree with you. I don't think there's anything Decky can really do in that situation. Gordon's gone into him. It's split second, isn't it? Really, yeah. I mean,
if there's a movement of an elbow or something, you could understand, but he's just running.
Yeah, no, I think that was the right call. It wasn't a penalty. It was just a natural coming together in the penalty box. So before we talk a bit more about the second half, because there's still a number of key things to discuss, Lee's going to tell us about the benefits of using NordVPN in Alistair's absence.
I am, in a bunged up fashion with my voice weird. I will tell you about the benefits of NordVPN, because if you're not aware by now, this Golden Guest Talk Tottenham podcast is sponsored by NordVPN, and you can use the service in a host of different ways to enhance your internet experience. NordVPN is the fastest VPN in the world, and that means there's no buffering, no lagging, and you can stream your favourite TV shows from anywhere in the world without your bandwidth throttling. You can use Nord to set your device to thinking it's back in the UK and just watch your shows as normal. Not only that, but the outlay on a NordVPN subscription is cheaper for you in the long run, and that's because you can purchase streaming services in other countries at a much cheaper rate. You can set your virtual location, for example, to another country and even book flights from there. Also, security-wise, it's a great system for pretty much going as far as you possibly can to stop people stealing things off your device. It's such a clever app that you can install on any device that you've got, quite frankly, and it's very easy to set up and get moving with straight away. There's a whole host of other benefits from signing up to NordVPN, so why not give it a go? To get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/goldguest. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. You can find the link in our podcast episode description box.
So then second half, a lot better from Tottenham. Saw more of the ball, had more chances on goal, caused issues for Newcastle. Spurs did have to switch things up at the break. Radu Dragusin, who came off in place of Sergio Reguilon, just in terms of Newcastle's second goal before half-time. I mean, good low ball in, I think it was from Jacob Murphy. Dragusin in that situation, you got to try and do something, can't you, to deal with the ball. Isaac's just right on his shoulder, knocks it into him, and he goes in. Unfortunate one for Dragusin, but like I said, I think you've just got to try and deal with the ball at that point.
I'm just trying to remember as well. I don't think I was particularly impressed with the defending leading up to it before Murphy managed to get the ball. I can't quite remember. My brain's a bit of a fuzz because I'm not feeling very well. But yeah, I think it was just a case of just giving the ball away or not closing down quickly enough and just letting Jacob Murphy in too easily. And then, yeah, little bit of luck, but it's Isaac is trying to pass it into the net without Dragusin touching it anyway. So when Dragusin's touched it, he's in the movement of passing, trying to tap it into the net anyway, and it's just kind of hit him and gone in. So yeah, just not great all round, I think, in the second half of the first half in particular. And yeah, I was just pleased to see us come out with a bit more impetus and a bit more about us in the second period. Yeah,
I think Spurs fans probably fearing the worst. Start of the second half, Newcastle very much on top. In the first half, changing defence, Jed Spence coming across the centre back because not really any other options unless you bring.
He did a great job as well, though, didn't he?
Oh, he's fantastic. He's done really, really well since he's come in, and I mean, it made total sense for him to move to centre back because there's a bit of height about him, whereas Reguilon and Porro don't have that. So, no, I thought it was fantastic, and the same goes for Archie Gray. Again, I mean, seen as a centre midfielder in the long term, you could probably make a case from being a centre back at the moment. I mean, you just can't tell he's 18, just going on his performances at all, alongside Dragusin, who is the more experienced centre back, someone who is an out-and-out centre back, and at times Gray looks the more experienced figure at the back, and that tells you everything about Gray. At the moment, nothing phases him. I think wherever you play him, you're going to get a really good performance out of him, and he just continues to grow. And I think, as Ange has said, you know, throwing the players in at the deep end at times, it's only going to make him better. Players are going to grow as people as well, and I think Gray in the second half of the season, he's going to be key player for Spurs because it has been over the past month or so.
Absolutely, and yeah, just I think what you just said there, throwing players in at the deep end. I think throwing Jed Spence at centre back is proper throwing him at the deep, because I think it was the first time since he's kind of come back into the team that I thought he was a bit shaky against Newcastle on at left back in the first half, and Ange could very easily have hooked him and changed it up that way as well, but thrown him into a different position, a position he's not familiar with, and did very well at centre back as well, having kind of got that first half out of his system. But yeah, Archie Gray, I don't know what more we can say about him already this season. We're not expecting him to play as much as he has done, and yeah, he's not your natural Christian Romero or Mickey van der Ven centre back, but he's brought with him a tenacity and just a confidence that belittles his age in playing, and it belittles the fact that he doesn't really play, never really played that position before. Yes, what a talent he's going to be.
Absolute Rolls Royce of a player.
Yeah, oh yeah,
incredible. And it's actually going to be interesting to see what happens when Romero and Van der Ven do come back, in terms of how much football Gray plays in the Premier League, because we know he's going to play quite a lot in Europe. I mean, he started every game in Europe, whether that's right back, left back, centre back now. So yeah, that's definitely going to give Ange a decision to make. But let's be honest, he wants these selection headaches because he's just not had them over the past month or so, just because of the amount of players who are being out injured. But yeah, a lot will point to Spurs' maybe failure in the summer transfer window to bring in these more experienced players. But Gray and Bergvall now have probably played more football than anyone expected. And that's only going to help them in the long run and help the team. And both of them at the moment just don't look out of place in this Spurs team.
No, really, really pleased with Lucas Bergvall as well. I put him in my my reporters team before the weekend because I wanted to see him given an opportunity, and he took it with both hands, really. As I said, I don't blame him for that first goal for Newcastle, because I think that was a misplaced pass from perhaps Sarr that really put him under pressure. But he's like fearless, like Archie Gray as well. Always wants the ball, wants to come and collect it from the defence, wants to move forward, wants to drive through the middle of the park. Does it really well as well. And yeah, I was not surprised to hear the response from the crowd in the stadium when he was brought off. But he's 18 years old. You want to make the changes to bring on Son and to bring on Maddison, and bring on a bit of seniority in Basuma as well. I don't think there was any other option but to bring him off. Really, at that point, if Ange wanted to make those changes.
Yeah, I think the only other thing you could have done is maybe take Brendan Johnson off, push Decky into the front three.
Yeah.
I think that was probably the only decision really for Ange to make. So he's not going to take Kulusevski off. But I thought Bergvall really, really good. Once again, good on the ball, always showing for it. Uses the ball well. Really impressive for the first goal with that driving run forward. And you can totally understand the frustration from the Tottenham fans to see him make way midway inside the second half when he's played so well and probably Tottenham's best outfield player on the day. But maybe it's one of these where Ange has one eye on Wednesday, the Carabao Cup game against Liverpool, because Maddison and Sarr are suspended. So Bergvall's probably gone to, be in the team once again, starting. And maybe he was tiring a little bit. You've got to remember he's 18 years old at the end of the day. Yeah. Not played that much Premier League football. The minutes have certainly increased over the past month. Started against Southampton, started against Newcastle now. But now I thought really, really impressive from Bergvall, and I think certainly a lot more to come from him in the future.
Yeah, I agree. I just think I kind of tried to make the point on Saturday when occasions we've been really good as attacking force this season. I think Maddison and Kulusevski have both we've played a few times together in the kind of the double 10, if you will, 4 and 8 and a 10. And I could understand 2 on behind why you would bring them both, have them both in there to try and get an equaliser.
Yeah, I think it's also got to be said, I thought the subs did well when they came on. That's all 4 of them. We'll start with Sergio Reguilon, who not had a lot of game time this season at all. Came on against Manchester United. I think he came on in the previous game as well, prior to Newcastle. Despite his lack of minutes, I thought he was really good going forward. Always looking to be involved. Flash from wide of across the face of the goal. I mean, how Spurs didn't score from there, I've no idea. So, I mean, Brendan Johnson, when you look at the freeze frame, had a clear shot, clear, target to aim at to try and, score, but seems to drag it across goal. Reguilon then put it across the face of goal, which was, quite annoying because Spurs were in a really good position then. But in terms of Reguilon, he's done well. He did really well. And I think the good thing is it's another option for Ange, not a long-term option, given his contract status. But when the club are in the hour of need, either players are ill or they're missing through injury, then I think Reguilon, proved on Saturday that if required, he can play for Spurs.
Coming in from the cold, you can't ask for too much more, really, can you, than to kind of make an impact and just show what you're about. when he came to the club with Gareth Bale, I thought his first 6 months or so were really, really strong at the Spurs, and then has not been kind of in favour with managers since he came in, and looked like his future was elsewhere, but hasn't gone elsewhere. And comes in and does a job when you need him to. And there's plenty of players out there who could throw the toys out the pram and say, "Oh, I don't fancy this. I don't want to do this." But yeah, I'm with you. Really good going forward, I think, on Saturday. What wasn't really tested at the back too much, which I was surprised by. I was surprised Newcastle didn't really try and get at us in the second half. But I can't ask for much more than him particularly. And Jed Spence now obviously has got a future at Spurs. But players like that have been left out and been asked to come back in now. Really good to see.
Yeah, Bissouma, good in midfield when he came on, bit of a driving force, trying to get on the ball and get it forward. Maddison inches away from finding the far corner with that curling effort.
I thought it was in.
Yeah. I mean, looking at the reverse angle, matter of inches away, and I mean, he's not started the past probably 3 Premier League games now for Spurs, and he's suspended for Wednesday night in the Cup. Whoa, he really probably thinks he should be playing a lot more than he is at the moment. And whenever he gets that opportunity to come on, he's going to be looking to make that an impact. And as I said, so close to an equalising goal. And I thought Son did okay on the left when he came on. Looks a bit more lively than he has in his recent games. And I think probably right to give him a bit of a rest at some point. I think Ange spoke after the game about it being a bit of a tactical decision in terms of having the energy from the off and then bringing on these experienced figures when Newcastle is tiring late on in the game to make an impact. And I thought all 3 of them did.
I think it definitely lit something underneath all of them, didn't it? I was really impressed with Maddison and Son. Bissouma, he's not always you could say the same about Maddison, I suppose, couldn't you? But Bissouma's not always first choice in the middle of the park, so sometimes sits on the bench. But yeah, probably would have been a shock to a lot of people that Maddison and Son in particular were not in the starting lineup. I've not been particularly impressed with Sonny in the last few weeks. I think he's probably needed that breakout of the team because from the start in recent weeks has not been great. But clearly had a point to prove to Ange when he came on in the second half and show him that I'm the club captain. I shouldn't be being dropped. I shouldn't be sat on the bench. I should be playing week in, week out. But he's got to show it. He's got to prove it. And I thought he did when he came on. Looked really lively. Madders looked really lively as well, as you say. That shot going extremely close. It's just unfortunate, really. I think that again another occasion this season where we haven't made the most of our dominance in a game.
Yeah, I think that's what I was just going to say. Then, as well as Spurs played in the second half, you've got to look at a lack of real clear-cut chances on goal. Brennan Johnson hit the outside of the post after Pat Matasar had a shot save from Dubravka. That was a really, really tight angle from Johnson. I mean, he's just not going to score from there. Johnson, that chance we mentioned where he flashed it wide and Reguilon did exactly the same. And I think it was Solanke header from another Porro cross. I think there was a couple of Solanke headers in the final 10 minutes. But in terms of those real clear-cut chances, they were lacking again, which was frustrating.
Yeah, I think the Solanke header, I think towards the end, not the one right at the very end, but one towards the end, where I think he probably just got too much on the ball, wanted to flick it, glance it a little bit more into the corner because it was almost straight at Dubravka and it was an easy save for him in the end. That was the one. And the Maddison chance was not exactly a clear-cut chance. The one from the corner, I think the XG on that was probably something like 0.1. I get. Yeah, you're right. Not enough clear-cut chances. Not enough opening up of the Newcastle backline, which is, I think, it's the real frustration over the last few weeks. We've got extenuating circumstances. There are clearly problems. There's clearly injury issues, and we've not got a defence to rely on at the minute because everyone's having to chop and change and do different jobs. But in the main, there's been a lot of players, not a lot, there's been enough players to choose from in those midfield and forward options, and we're not doing enough. in those forward areas to make up for the fact we don't have a defence. I think that's the real problem we've got at the minute.
Yeah, Ange really pleased with Tottenham's performance. We'll go over some of his comments in the post-match press conference, but basically what he said in terms of the performance, hugely proud. Shouted the boys didn't get the rewards they deserve because we're outstanding. Our football was outstanding against a very good opponent in good form and a good place. I thought it was brilliant and outstanding. A game we deserved to win. And on any other day, we would have won. Agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I was really pleased with the performance. There's been plenty of games in the last few weeks where I've been really disappointed and not happy with the way we've played and not happy with the results. Obviously, I went away on Saturday thinking I was pleased with the not pleased with the defeat, but you know what I'm trying to say. The performance was good for the most part. Maybe the half an hour in the first half wasn't great, but given the problems we've got and the back five we finished with, I couldn't. I'm with Ange there. I was really proud of the players and the effort they put in. And on another day, would have got a point or three out of it, I think. Because as bad as we were in that half an hour in the first half, Newcastle really didn't offer anything in the second half. They were sat on their 2-1. And I suppose it worked in the end. It was come on us, see if you can score again. We couldn't, so it worked for them in the end. It would have been interesting to see how they changed their way if Spurs had equalised at some point in the second half. But yeah, I was fearing the worst. I went on a Newcastle podcast on Thursday, I think it was, and I got asked for my prediction, and I predicted Newcastle would win 3 or 4-2. I was that pessimistic about the team that we could put out. And how we've been playing recently. So, was surprised and really pleased with the performance that we showed on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, in Ange's post-match press conference, he was asked about Dominic Solanke's performance and basically ended it with saying, I'm just really, really angry. Angriest I think I've ever been in my career that we were denied the right rewards for a fantastic performance. He was also asked about the key decisions, obviously the first one being the handball that Joe Linton made in the lead up to Anthony Gordon's finish, and
didn't want to say much, did he?
He didn't want to say much on it. And
how many times was he asked about it?
Quite a few times, I think. But what he did say a number of times, I think it was one of his BBC interviews, was the phrase was on a fair and even playing ground. I think he said that a number of times.
Yeah.
And that's basically a way of just getting around it, maybe not copying the fine from the FA, but refusing to go into it, not happy at all. Basically, he says he knows what his opinion is. I think
he's a man under pressure, isn't he? Results have not been going his way, and he's a man under pressure. He's going to come out and say things at some point.
Yeah,
he's going to get angry.
As he said, on another day, on an even and fair playing ground, maybe Spurs would have won that game, but that's not the case. So, looking ahead, Wednesday evening, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the first leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final against Liverpool. Spurs are going to be without a number of players. Again, Maddison and Sarr suspended for this one. Bentancur will be back following his one-match domestic suspension. Remains to be seen what will be the case with Richarlison and Mikey Moore in terms of their fitness going into it. And due to speak to the media at Hotspur Way 1 p.m. on Tuesday, so we'll know more this time tomorrow afternoon. What Spurs do have, a bit more rest in terms of Liverpool, who played in the half-hour game against Manchester United yesterday. Really good game that at Anfield, 2-2 draw. So that will certainly help Spurs going into it. But go back a few weeks, Liverpool on fire in North London, scoring 6. It's going to be a very, very tough game.
Absolutely. They weren't at their best against Man United yesterday, but they've not at their best very often this season. So I can't say as I'm going in with much optimism that we'll see a similarly not poor, but a similarly mediocre performance from Liverpool as the one that they showed against Man United. Man United, I thought, played really well, considering they've been really, really bad in recent weeks. I thought they put in a good performance against Liverpool and controlled possession for a lot of the first half at Anfield, which will have annoyed the Anfield favourites, I'm sure. Yes, I don't know. I don't think we play the right style of football to come up against a free-flowing Liverpool team. I think, as we saw a few weeks ago at the stadium, we can get picked off quite easily because of the way Ange wants to play, and it's gonna rely on taking chances, I think, to get us in a good position and scoring more than Liverpool. That's what football is, isn't it? Score more than the opposition. It's easy for me to say, but yeah, it's. I don't think we can keep them out at the back. None of the defenders are going to be back, are they? So it's going to be Dragusin and Gray, Spence, Porro. It's going to be tough for them. They did well in the second half against Newcastle, but that's a different proposition against Liverpool. Depending on what sort of side Arne Slot decides to put out, I don't know. I haven't looked as to what sort of teams he's been playing in the Carabao Cup, but it's a semi-final now. You would expect him to go reasonably strong. Salah might get a rest, but you've got Nunez, who was on the bench and came off the bench on yesterday. You've got Jota, who was on the bench, came on yesterday. Chiesa is available. It's not like they're lacking in good players to bring on.
No, I think there'll be a bit of change in the Liverpool team. I don't think Salah's probably started in the Cup yet, which is understandable when you've got players like Nunez, Diego Jota. You'd imagine has gone to start, Harvey Elliott as well. So there's some really good players to come into the team. It might be in the second leg when the likes of Salah, Diaz, McAllister start for Liverpool. But for Spurs, they've just got to ensure that they're still in the game come the second leg. I think that's important. Ideally, they might want to replicate United from Sunday in terms of trying to nullify Liverpool and frustrate them. But given the way Spurs play, there's going to be opportunities there for Liverpool. Just fingers crossed that don't take as many as they did last time out at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, because they probably could have had a couple more than 6 that they had in the end. In terms of the Tottenham team, I think it pretty much picks itself, really. I imagine Brandon Austin will keep his place in goal. The back four that started against Newcastle, I'm not sure how he goes in midfield. I know there's no Maddison and no Sarr. I think Bergvall deserves to start again. Surely Bentancur comes back in. Then, I don't know, do you push Decky onto the right wing, drop Brennan Johnson so you can have Basuma, Bergvall and Bentancur in midfield? But what I would say is I think Johnson probably offers more protection down the right if he starts compared to Kulusevski.
Yep.
So the balance in terms of the midfield and the attack's going to be interesting. I think Son will come in and start.
Yeah.
Solanke there as ever, but it's just who starts on the right wing, who starts in midfield.
I think I'd probably go with Brennan Johnson, and I think I'd play Bentancur and Bergvall with Kulusevski. But yeah, it'll be interesting because Basuma sat there and saying, "Well, I came on and did a good job when I came on in the second half against Newcastle." So yeah. Interesting. I don't think I'd move Decky out and onto the right. I think I'd keep him in that number 10 role with Maddison not available.
Yeah, nice to have a bit of a selection decision in midfield for once. And I mean, this is even with Maddison and Sarr being suspended for the first leg of the game at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Bit of a while to wait to the second leg, which is the beginning of February. There's a month between them now because, I mean, January is a hectic month for Spurs as it was in December. You've got a midweek Premier League fixture, 2 rounds of European games as well to fit in. Before then it's the trip to Anfield on the first week in February, I think it is. So I think it's just important that Spurs can try and get a good result and put themselves into a good position going into the second leg. Going to have to be at the best, but beating Man City, beating Manchester United in the Cup so far, if you're going to win the Cup, you're going to have to beat the best teams, and they've got an opportunity now to do likewise against Liverpool.
That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Getting, if we were to get to the final, having gone through Man City, Man United, Liverpool, and then potentially Arsenal in the final. what a cup run that would have been.
Yeah, and if they do go on to win it, then they'll fully deserve it. But got to get there first of all. Tough game coming up against Liverpool on Wednesday night. I think we'll call it a day for today's.
We should probably just say we've got some VAR, haven't we, in the semi-finals this week, and there's going to be some decisions made in the stadium to the fans, and there new rules coming in for the semi-finals, just as a kind of trial basis. So we'll get to know what's going on in the stadium a bit more than normal.
Is this like the MLS when you can hear what the ref says?
Yeah,
right.
I think we're going to get what's going to hear what the decision's been made in the stadium. I think, yeah, and VAR is going to be used for the first time in the competition this year, which hasn't been used so far, has it?
Yeah, going to be interesting then to see if the ref's mic picks up what the players say if decisions go against them.
Yeah,
that could be quite interesting. But yeah, I think, as I said, we'll just leave it there for today's latest episode of Gold Guest Talk Tottenham. So mentioned at the start of the show, Ali will be back on Thursday, and we will be looking back at the Liverpool game and then also previewing Sunday's FA Cup third round game away at Tamworth. In the meantime, just keep with us at football.london for all your latest Tottenham news. To get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/goldguest. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the podcast episode description box.